are coming up, making sure that, of course, all of you can join us. On June 24th, we have the state of the city, as Bobby mentioned, the next day is the business update. On the 24th, you'll be
gentleman that I'm going to introduce as our, I'm sorry, we're not going to do that. We're going to go around and do self-introductions. I so apologize. Gosh, Conrad, I had everything ready. So we're going to start right here with Mike Karashi, and Mike's going to get up, turn around, face all of you, and he's going to share his name and his company name. He's going to sit down, then Paul Binder's going to take it. We're going to go right around the room.
Good morning, I'm Mike Karashi. I'm the owner of Anatomy Cleaning Services. I'm also on the board of directors with the Chamber of Commerce. Thank you.
Good morning.
So let's do this. We'll clap at the very end because we. Stephen.
Steve Itzkowitz, Circle MSP Technological Services.
Hi, Amanda Wicker, City Corona Economic Development.
Jessica Gonzalez, Economic Development Director, City of Corona.
Desiree Ramirez, Corona Chamber, Vice President of Operations.
My name is Lorena Ramos, and I just moved to Corona City, and I wanna stay here, and I'm from the Emprendedores program.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm Bothhammer, and I work for AD Office Solutions.
I'm John Pino. I work for ABD Office Solutions for Kyocera, Sharp, and Xerox.
Awesome.
Hi, Robert Conrad, entrepreneur, social media company.
Awesome.
I am Guido Totaro from Pampa Empanadas.
I'm Jill Padilla. I'm Conrad's wife.
The brains behind Hustle Media Group.
Landon Ray, realtor.
Jason Scott, 30-year principal for the school district, retired, former mayor, and citizen of the year for
Awesome.
Andy Anderson, financial advisor at Edward Jones.
Kim Maybon, owner of Creative by Design and board chair here at the Chamber.
Christine Taranti with DFI, D. Girolamo Family Insurance, a property and casualty insurance agency.
And Mark Edwards, Empire Energy Solutions, commercial and residential solar, and I will be happy to accept all of the applause for all of them.
So two additional people, I introduced them earlier, but Anthony Maldonado and Stephanie Shapiro with the Corona Chamber, so let's give them a.
There you go.
So now I do want to take a moment to just kind of do some framework. I met Conrad probably 15 plus years ago, and maybe even longer. He's got a bio that reads a mile long, and I know that I need to stay on script and share some of the things. At age 12, he created his first business. That was a lawn mowing business. He became a financial advisor and worked on Wall Street for 14 years with Dean Witter, Morgan Stanley, and then UBS. He understands the stock market, but he also understands what can happen if you don't have a plan B and if you are not prepared. I was with him last night on some business consultation stuff that we did, and he shared that many times he would have spouses come in after their husbands had passed away and said, is the investment that we've done, is it going to carry me through? And, you know, heavy on his heart because he wants to help people. He's here today to help each and every one of us here. He's got a global perspective and a global business. He does stuff with iHeartRadio, working with the #1 radio host, George Norrie, in North America. He's done that for the past 5 years. In 2017, as if he wasn't busy enough, he decided to start his own social media marketing agency called Hustle Media Group. And that company has helped us tremendously. Our app that we have here at the Chamber was done through his company. He is an entrepreneur's entrepreneur. And more importantly, he's a husband, a father, he's a leader, a mentor, and a person that I like to call my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Conrad Padilla.
Thanks, Bob. Can you guys hear me okay? Or does this need to go a little higher? It's good? Okay. It's kind of weird. It feels like there's like something around my neck, which there is. How are you, Mark? Nice to see you. Well, here's the thing. The thing about me, I always have notes, but I'll be quite frank with you, usually I don't use them. I mean, that's the truth of the matter. What I kind of do is I like to go with, you know, wherever the big guy upstairs, you know, leads me. I mean, I'm gonna tell you right now that, my goal today really is, yeah, I'm gonna give you some of my story, but it's really to help you. My goal is always to help people. I will tell you that, how many of you guys have had moments where working for a company or being an entrepreneur and you're wondering, why am I doing what I'm doing? Or is that just me? I'm gonna tell you right now that that's actually normal. I think one of the challenges of being an entrepreneur is being patient. Am I right? Sometimes things have to happen to you in order for you to get to the next level, and I'm gonna go over that. But what I wanna do is, because Jill, my wife, is right there, and she says, you gotta share your story, you gotta share your story. Now, I'll share briefly my story. I think a lot of times people think that entrepreneurs, you know, they have this perfect, you know, childhood and everything's just perfect and they just go into entrepreneurship and everything's kumbaya, right? Well, that's actually not true at all. My parents divorced when I was about 4 years old. We were homeless. My parents had a tough divorce. In fact, you didn't even know about this stuff. You know, and you know, when I was a kid, if I wanted something, you had to work for it. Anybody remember those days? It's kind of different from nowadays. Huh? But I think the key for me is I did have a lot more business. I actually had people working for me. I would do the sales. At 12 years old, if I wanted new cleats, if I wanted this, if I wanted that, I had to go make it happen. And I learned entrepreneurship at that age. But I actually learned it about 15 years old. Working, you guys know where the Carl's Jr. is over on 6th Street? Yeah. Okay. I got hired there, you know, and I worked there for maybe an hour. I was on the fries, you know, the fry thing and all that kind of stuff, and the oils hit me and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I am not doing this for, back then it was like $3 and some cents per hour or something. It was crazy, right? So I just told the manager, I said, I'm not doing this. I said, I'm out of here. I quit, right? This is not for me. I knew right there I had to be an entrepreneur, and I knew I couldn't have a boss right there. I didn't hear, you know, at the time I was living with my uncle, and he said, you don't ever quit. I said, yeah, but it depends on what you quit, you know, and so the bottom line is I knew right there I couldn't do it. So, you know, years later, I went to school, I got a higher education, I did all these things, but I always wanted to make sure that I was doing something that I enjoyed. And I'll never forget when, you know, I went to Merrill Lynch and they wouldn't hire me. It was like 20 and a half years old or something. You're too young, who's gonna give you assets? Went to Dean Witter, the manager says, you're too young, all that kind of stuff. And I said, you know, I just pursued, his name was Tim Sullivan, and I kept calling him, I kept saying this, hey, give me a shot, because it was Dean Witter, because they invest about $100 grand in you. So they want to make sure that you're, you know, you go through a lot of tests and all kinds of different things. And what ended up happening was he hired me, but during the interview, Mark, he just like, he says, I'm going to let you know right now, I'm going to threaten to fire you every single day if you don't make at least 300 calls a day. And guess what he did? Every single day, he would throw the call counter at me and say, if you don't get to 300, you're fired. Every single day he did this. Can you guys, and people can't handle stress from jobs today. Right? So they hired me. I'm on my way to New York for training, all that kind of stuff in the World Trade Center and all that. And I'll never forget, if you can just imagine this, Mike. Okay, so the first day I'm there, and the trainer actually comes up to me. I'm walking in the room, I'm excited, everybody's got their, you know, I got my one suit on and all that kind of stuff, and he goes up to me and goes, why are you here, kid? He says, you're wasting everybody's time, wasting our company's time by you being here. Nobody's going to give you assets. You know, you're a kid. Now, I could have taken that and just been down, but what did I do? I took that as he doesn't know me. Right? He doesn't know me, all that kind of stuff. And so what ended up happening was within 6 months, I became a senior vice president for the company. I had one of the biggest books, we called it books back then. Andy would know what I'm talking about, right? And I went back to New York for another training and stuff like that. I went up to that guy, I said, hey, remember when you told me that whole quitting thing? I says, I just want to let you know, here's my card. Senior vice president, you know, when all this sort of stuff. And so what it did for me though, what he did is what kind of what I've done my whole life is when somebody tells me I can't do something, guess what? That's what drives me. Tell me I can't do something, I won't say anything, but I'll just, you know, I'll make it happen. So what ended up happening is, within that company, I started getting into investment managing, bringing companies public, and I started diversifying. I was also a branch manager, and I was in that industry for about 14 years. Now, it did a lot for me personally. Yes, we made a pretty good living, but I was very time poor. Anybody relate with being time poor? Okay. And I didn't like being time poor. I mean, I never saw my kids, I never saw my wife. I was like, man, I didn't sign up to sit in traffic every day and be miserable. You know, I had that dream job, but all of a sudden I realized that I was not a happy person. And so what ended up happening was, my cousin, who was a successful lawyer here in town and all that kind of stuff, she comes up to me and she starts talking about network marketing. I'm like, heck no. I had no interest in being involved in the profession. I mean, I was very ignorant to the whole profession. And so what ended up happening is I got involved in the profession because, you know, I was like, you know, maybe this will allow me to work less. Maybe it'll bring me a little bit of revenue. But what did it for me more than anything else is what Bobby said, is that I started learning that the craziest thing in the world for me is to have one income stream. Because if something ever happened to me, what about Jill and my girls? So I started thinking about it, and I was like, man, you know, everybody that I ever read books about as far as successful people and stuff, they all have more than one income stream. I mean, you can look at Tony Robbins, you can look at Elon Musk. I mean, I can go on and on and on. Some of these guys have hundreds of companies, and I'm thinking, how do they like go to sleep at night? Right? But what I have learned though is it's who they surround themselves with. You got to surround yourself around good people. That's one of the benefits of the chamber here. So going back to my notes, you know, I think the biggest thing that I'll probably tell you is my faith is probably my biggest guide. What I will tell you right now, and if I can give you like a main nugget, if you will, is pray about everything. I'm just telling you, the big guy upstairs really wants to be part of your life in all areas. Pray about everything. Pray about, God, you know, when I go into this meeting, when I go see this customer, when you know, the way that I'm feeling, you know, my business partner, should I choke him or not choke him? Should I drown him or not drown him? You know, whatever the case may be, just pray about everything. You're gonna actually find that you're gonna have more calm. I'm not saying things are gonna be perfect, because they're not. I'm not saying that at all, because your success in business and entrepreneurship is like this, isn't it? Everybody thinks it's like this. It's not. You have moments, man, you're thinking, what am I doing? Like, I should just join, you know, the FBI and become whatever, you know what I'm saying? Or whatever the case may be. Something simple and something easy, right? So I think the key is your faith. And the other thing I want to tell you right now is people like Bobby. You have to surround yourself. I'm talking about business, I'm talking about having a job. I don't care what you do. You gotta have mentors. You gotta have people that you surround yourself with, Kim, right? Am I right? We were just talking about that. You have to have people that you surround yourself with that are gonna help you in those times when you need help. And I'm not talking about just financial. I'm talking about moments when things are happening in your life and you need help, because we all need it, right? Sometimes we think that we're going through life and it's just in that you're just the only person in the world that's actually going through that problem. Everybody goes through the same stuff. It's just, maybe you just need to start talking to people and find out that your situation is not that unique to you. The thing I'll tell you about this chamber that I had never seen in my years of being in business is, this is a group of people, and I'm gonna give the credit to obviously Bobby, because he's put the team together. Like, they will help you in all areas of your life. You need help in this, they'll come through for you. I've seen it and I've heard the stories. The Corona Chamber of Commerce, and I'm not being paid to say this is the honest to God truth, okay? I have never seen a organization that is better for you as a person and also for your business secondary, person first, secondary, that you can get mentors and connect with people. Business is really about connecting with people. It really is. If you were to ask me all the business ventures that I've been involved in, the number one thing that I think that I probably have been very blessed with is I'm very connected in business. I literally had a guy last week who made $33 million last year. He sold his last company for $50 million. He wants me to help him and mentor him, right? I'm thinking, you're making $33 million? I'm not making anywhere near 30. But yet he contacts me, and I met the guy a few years ago. We were connected on social media, all that kind of stuff. And he says, I want you to help me with like a podcast show. I want you to help me with other types of things. And so my point to you guys is, understand that the most important thing that you could possibly do in business or in your job is connect with people. Get to know lots of people. Mark, that's one of the reasons why you're part of this amazing chamber, is because it's helped you connect with people. And also the things that Bobby does to help you and stuff like that. That is number one. Number one is connecting with people. But you also have to be patient. And I'm going to tell you right now that
going back into my direct selling and my network marketing business, we've been involved in that profession for 14 years. Yes, I started Hustle Media Group in 2017. And I kind of tie everything into each other because any business that I do, they all have to work together. Okay, every business. It's funny. That's Jill's phone.
But what's funny is it's on silent.
I know. That's Google.
Right, I'm sorry.
Google's on it.
Sorry, babe.
Lanny, can you do me a favor too? Let me know, because I want to make sure I have time for questions when it's about 8:40.
Okay.
Okay, just to let me know. So going back to what I was saying with respect to, where was I, Mark? What was I
You
talking
tie
about?
everything together.
Tie it all together. I won't even look at a business if they don't work together. I won't consider it because ultimately I have to pursue passion. I won't do anything that I'm not passionate about. I refuse to chase a check. I did it before. If you find that you're not happy with what you're doing, it's because you're chasing the check. True success in life, true happiness in life is pursue what you're happy to do, even if you make less money. I'm just telling you guys, has anybody ever met anybody who has tons and tons of money and they're just like not a nice person to be around?
Yes. I used to serve people like that, and as a pharmacy technician in Greenwich, Connecticut, which is one of the richest towns in the country.
Yep, I know that area.
$2 million homes, and they're miserable because that's all that binds them is the money.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, what are your gifts? How many of you guys know you all have gifts? Okay, my gift is actually encouragement. I love to encourage people. It's something that's important to me. Follow your passion, but also know what your gifts are. You all have gifts. Are you using those gifts? You know you're actually going to be a happier entrepreneur, if you will, if you actually pursue and do some of the things that you feel in your heart that you should be doing. Just like if you feel like sometimes, if you feel sometimes like there's something you should be doing, do it. You know, sometimes those can actually come in blessings too. Like if you feel, how many of you guys been in a situation you're like, should I talk to this person? Should I do this? Should I do that? And then you find out you're going to get blessed from it. You know, blessings come your way. One of my good friends, Abe, he very successful business guy. The other day we went to dinner and he says, you know, sometimes God brings blessings to us and we don't pursue those blessings. And at the end of the day, we sit there and wonder, God, you know, why aren't you delivering blessings? Well, what do you want? Right? I'm dropping all these people, these things, all that kind of stuff. So understand that. What are your gifts? You're blessed. If you're blessed, should you be what?
A blessing.
A blessing. You know, you actually have true happiness by being a blessing to others and helping others that have been through other things in your life. See, for me, I look at all those things, my childhood, all those types of things has prepared me for what I do today. All of those things that you're going through in your life, those are preparing you for the next stage of your life, because if you don't have a testimonial, how can you what? How can you help anybody if you've ever been tested? How can you ever help anybody if you've been through anything? You can't relate to anybody. You know, so I think the key is you have to understand that what are your gifts. The other thing is what you're passionate about. Don't go week to week or halfway through the year and say, you know, I'm going through life and I'm not really that happy. Well, make a decision to say, I gotta start doing some things that I'm passionate about. I gotta start, because you know what's gonna happen? You're gonna be happier, but you're also gonna make more money. You're gonna have more success if you do those things. The other thing is, don't ever take your health for granted. Your health is your what? Wealth. You know, what's crazy about it to me is we demand a lot out of ourselves, but yet we don't take care of ourselves in some cases. You know, when you take care of yourself, you're actually gonna be happier and more productive in business. And I'm not talking about just your physical health. I'm talking about your mental health, because those go hand in hand. Which one do you think is actually more important? Your mental health. So what are you doing every day to take care of this? It's not something you do once in a while either. It's something that you do every day. What are you doing to take care of your mental health, and what are you doing to take care of your physical health? It is a requirement in entrepreneurship. These are like laws. These are things that you have to schedule, you have to do. If you say I don't have the time, it just means that you're not honoring those laws. And you're gonna actually wonder why you have health issues, or why you're having, you know, you're not a nice person to be around, or whatever the case may be. These are things that you have to do on a daily basis that are required. Do I do them every day?
Yes.
My wife, the beautiful thing about my wife is if I say something, guess what? You should, that's not true. or if it's true, then she'll say that it's true. But what do I typically do every day before my day starts?
Read the Bible.
That's something that I personally do. Why? Because he's going to give me guidance to deal with whatever goes on in my day. Okay, that's just something I'm just telling you guys, it works, pray about everything. Now let me get into the marketing part. Marketing is everything and everything is marketing. You're a brand. How many of you guys know that you're a brand? Jessica, people don't, your title's important, but people actually do business with and connect with who? Jessica. Bobby, same thing with you. You're the CEO of the Corona Chamber of Commerce, but people don't do business with the title. Mark, in your business, people do business with you because of who you are, not because of Empire Energy Solutions. Same thing with you. I mean, the reality is, I think the problem with most people is it's like Elon Musk, okay? How many of you guys could name every company that Elon Musk is involved in? So who are they doing business with? Who are they investing with? Elon Musk. You're no different as a brand. So what does your brand look like? If you look at Facebook and Instagram, all the platforms that you use, whatever platforms you use, how many of you guys use social media platforms? Okay. If you were to look at your social media platform right now, do you think that people actually appreciate your brand? Do you think we bring value to people's lives if you look at your social media platforms? Or are you one of those people that complains about everything, throws everything up on there that nobody really cares about? How many of you guys know that you have to really, you have to be very careful in what you post?
Mm-hmm.
Some people, man, I'm like, man, these people are damaging their brands.
Mm-hmm.
They don't recognize that they're a brand. When you post something on there, yes, it can be personal, but just be careful. Have a balance. Have a balance with respect to how you're posting. You know, don't post stuff that doesn't bring value to people, by the way. I'm just telling you guys right now that one of the #1 things that I could recommend to you guys is make sure that you bring value to people's lives. Nobody wants to, I literally have stopped watching the news. I stopped watching the news months ago. You know what was happening? It was affecting me here. I canceled all of them. I canceled Fox News. I canceled everything. You know why? Because there's nothing good that was coming out of that for me. I don't even watch the news. People ask me what's going on in the world. I say, I know what I need to know, and that's it. I don't want to know what's going on for the day, because remember, good news doesn't sell. Bad news sells. Am I right? Be careful who you're surrounding yourself with. If you look at the people that you're hanging out with, you will be exactly like those people that you're hanging out with, positive or negative. I tell my kids the same thing. Show me your 5 friends, and I'll tell you who you are. Right? Okay, so let me go into, I want to go into this whole George and everything and iHeartRadio. You know, how many of you guys, like I said earlier, when somebody tells me I can't do something, what happens? It hasn't changed since I was 12 years old, when I was 20 years old, and now I'm 50 years old. Gosh, that's painful. So here's what I'll tell you. So it took me about a year and a half to get this whole thing going with iHeartRadio. Okay, I'm involved in one of my other companies, and I had to get you can only imagine. I'm having a conference call with iHeartRadio and telling them that, look, here's these great products, and I want to put them on the radio and everything else, but I don't want you to charge me. How do you think those calls went? What do you mean? You want us to run your commercials with the #1 radio show host in North America, which has 4 million people a day that listen to him, and you want us to do it for free? Yeah. Okay. It took me about a year and a half to make that whole thing happen and really sell the vision, the benefits of it, why this makes sense for George, why this makes sense for iHeartRadio, all that kind of stuff. Because we were talking about 600 markets, and #1 guy in Manhattan. He's on KFI out here and all that kind of stuff. And so it took me about a year and a half to do this. Through many, many times of thinking, man, what am I doing? Is this really going to ever work? I mean, what am I doing here? So what ended up happening about a year and a half, they finally said, okay, we're going to do it, because George endorsed it so much. Lots of meetings with George, lots of meetings with his team, lots of meetings, all these meetings, and just vision. It took me a year and a half. Okay. Then what ended up happening is we started moving product. We had success with that, and moving that product, and then 5 years now into this, 5 years into this, right? It's time. Okay. Yeah. So 5 years into this, here's what ended up happening. So now we started another company that I'm part owners with, and now George iHeart's like, okay, whatever you want to do. We have more spots for you. You need this. You need that. So my point is that I had to be patient for a year and a half for this even to happen. Okay, and all this other kind of stuff. And now We've got commercials with one company going and another company, I think 3 different companies, right? We're doing something with. Now I've actually gone back to the first company who did $1 billion last year. They're a massive company. And now the owners, everything else, they said basically, look, we've proven for 5 years that this is what we can do for you guys. Now this is what I need. So now the owners are talking with this $1 billion company and everything else now, and I've proven the model. And the whole point of that is 5 years it's taken me to have that type of leverage with this company. So sometimes in entrepreneurship, you have to be patient. You have to be patient. Sometimes you may not see that some of the things that you're doing, the fruits may not be there, but you have to look at the big picture. What am I trying to really accomplish? So my point is that you need to make sure that you have goals and that your goals are in writing. You know the crazy part about this? How many of you guys in this room actually have your, honestly, how many of you guys in this room actually have your goals in writing? That's about right. You know the craziest part about this is that 1% of the population make all the money. You know what those numbers, the correlation is there? 99% of the people out there don't actually have their goals in writing. I'm going to tell you guys right now, one of the number 1 things that you can do in entrepreneurship is have everything that you're doing in your life, in all areas of your life, and have those goals in writing. And see them every single day, several times a day. Because what happens is you're going to actually find, and I'm just telling you, trust me on this, when you have things in writing, you're going to actually find that you're attaining and hitting those goals. You know why? Because you're like a dart, you have a target. Does that make sense? Try it. I'm just telling you guys right now, one of the number 1 things that I have done in my life is I write things down. I have goal cards. They're little cards that you picked up at Walmart, right? I think you picked up at Walmart. I write down my personal goals, my goals for each of my companies, what everything I have, and I see them all the time, every day, many times a day, at least 10 times a day. No. You should be doing that with the city. What's your goals with the city? With this great city that I was born in, that there's hundreds of the Padillas here. I mean, they just did a write-up in the Corona Regional deal there. I mean, there's hundreds. I love this city. I want nothing more than continue to see it rock and get all the restaurants that people say that they want and everything else. And you know what I would tell you right there is, those are goals. I want to get more business, more companies to this city that people want. I mean, Jason used to hear it all the time when we were in the city. Why can't you bring in more mom and pops businesses and this, all this other kind of stuff? But isn't it something how people complain and many times they don't even do anything about it? They never show up to the meeting. All they do is just complain to you, right? Or never ever. Okay, let me just kind of wind it down with respect to some of the things that I think will help you with this is that you have to be willing to adapt. You have to be willing to pivot. Has anybody learned that over the last 15 months? You have to be willing to adapt and you have to be willing to pivot. You have to be willing to change your models off the cuff. Bobby, when COVID-19 hit, okay, I didn't say the other word. When COVID-19 hit, one of the things that we did immediately, Desiree, you remember this, is that we got to get started in Zooms. We have to start Zooms immediately. We got to stay connected with people. You guys remember all that stuff? I mean, everybody's going, well, Zoom. Like, how do we set that up? At the time, I had Jared, with our company and everything. We were setting this up. We were doing all these kind of things. So you have to be willing to adapt and pivot off the cuff because the only thing that's guaranteed is change. Help me with this one, Joe.
I don't know that one.
Okay, you don't know that one. She doesn't know that. Change is guaranteed, bottom line. I'm just telling you right now that your business could be totally different next week. Somebody could come into the market, whatever. You have to be willing to adapt and pivot immediately. You can't look at your model right now and say, hey, I've got a great model, I'm going to keep this model the same way. Sometimes when you're changing your model too, you have to be patient with that model. The thing about social media is you have to be patient with it. The craziest part about this is that when I was on Wall Street, these companies would invest millions and millions. And when I was part of bringing TGI Fridays public, okay, I led the team to bring that company public. Do you think they invested just a few $1 million, or was it tens of millions of dollars? And they actually didn't see their ROI for like a few years. Okay, in what they invested in their stock going up where it should, and the stock options and things like that. You have to be patient with social media. But what I will tell you though is once you've established your brand, you have an audience. Ultimately, what are you trying to do with social media? Gather an audience. You're trying to gather an audience. So that means that you're building an audience, building an audience. I mean, it's kind of like this, okay? I mean, give me Tony Robbins, okay? Let's just say Tony Robbins. Do you think that when Tony Robbins started, do you think that he had tens of thousands of people show up at his seminars and stuff like that, or when he first started?
No.
No. In fact, if you actually read his stuff, there was just a few people. There was like 2 or 3 people at his first meeting. All I'm saying to you guys is you have to be patient with this stuff. This stuff takes time, especially if it's bigger. You have to be patient with it. The last thing I'll say, because I want to have some questions in here, is that Dave Roberts says this. How many of you guys know who Dave Roberts is? Coach of the Dodgers. And he can say this. He says, the team may change, but the goal doesn't change. Isn't that true? I mean, how many times did the Dodgers lose? Finally, they won, right? Last year, you guys know what I'm talking about? Like, it was stressful. You know what I mean? Wasn't it stressful? I was like, I can't watch it. I told Joe, I said, I can't watch these anymore. Like, I'm stressed out. I don't need this. Right? But the whole point of that is the team may change, but the goal doesn't change. So what I'm saying to you is your team may change. That's part of the deal. That's just the way that it is. Your staff may change. Your staff may change. People may come, membership, no memberships. People may stay with you and they say, whatever the case may be, the goal doesn't change. You know, even for my social media company, you know, the crazy part about it is the guys that I actually started the company with, one of them's here, which is back here at the back, you know, Robert. But even the people that we have on our team, you know, the crazy part about it, especially with millennials today, is they're like, okay, cool, I've been with this company for 3 months.
Yeah.
Right? That's good enough. Right? That's lifelong. Or hey, I've been with this company for a year. I've committed a whole year to my life of being involved. You know what I have learned? That's the way it is. When I call GoDaddy, I don't get the same person. You guys follow what I'm saying? Change is just part of the way it is. If you don't embrace the fact that maybe there's a generation out there that their attention span's a little lower, their commitment's a little bit lower, their whatever is a little bit different, I'm telling you, you're gonna be in a world of hurt. It's just the way that it is. Okay, so with that, how much time we have left, Landon? What time is it?
8:47.
Okay, so what I wanna do is I wanna spend a few minutes and I wanna actually address some of the questions that you guys might have with some of the different ventures. I mean, ultimately, yes, I have a lot of ventures going and some very big ventures. You know, does it feel pretty good to know that like I have this stuff going with iHeart and all these commercials that are running and I've created you know a pretty good revenue machine there and all that? Yeah, but you know how much work it still is even now? I mean, Jill will attest to that right now. It's not like, oh cool, I built this and there's no problems and no headaches. No, part of you being an entrepreneur is you fix things, you adapt to things. You know, you have to kind of look at entrepreneurship in a different way because it's going to be a lot easier that way. Your role is you're a problem solver. If you can't handle problem solving, then you probably shouldn't be an entrepreneur because that's what we do. We problem solve. When somebody brings something to me, and I get it all the time, and that's one of the reasons why I started my social media companies because people come to us, we look at what they're doing, and we say, well, what if we did this? Or what if we did, in other words, I try to get people to think outside their box. What if we did this? What if we did that? You know, those are the types of things that I love to do because it's a passion of mine, which is figuring stuff out. You know, once again, going back to the chamber, well, what if we did this? Or what if we did that, right? And it actually helped during COVID.
Absolutely.
So sometimes you have to realize that, okay, my role as an entrepreneur really is to be able to go out there and whatever comes my way, I have to be able to adapt and pivot and figure it out. Am I right, Mike?
Absolutely.
Isn't that what you do as an entrepreneur?
Absolutely.
It's not you sitting there saying, man, I've arrived and this is so cool, bring the pina coladas. Right? That's really not what entrepreneurship is. I mean, if you look at Elon Musk, to wind this down, I mean, how many rockets has the guy had blow up? And you know, you imagine him going back to those investors? You guys know that that's all run by investors. Going back to those investors, right, Andy, and say, hey, I know that we had $1 billion rocket blow up. However, right, we want to launch another one in a few months from now. We feel like we fixed the problem. And you imagine those investors? But they believe enough in him. That's part of the deal. And he'll bring a team in that'll fix those problems. So with that, I want to answer any questions that you guys may have and see if I can help you in the next 7-8 minutes.
Just repeat the questions.
Yeah.
Being an biggest challenge is you have to have a good organization set up, especially when you are managing different strategies, different companies. How
Right.
do you handle that?
So the question was, if I get this right, maybe what I might have you do is just turn around and if you have a question, you can go back to it, because there's no way I'm gonna probably remember the whole thing. I told you, I'm good at what I do, but some things I would say that the question was, when you have lots of companies, and how do you adapt, how do you adjust, all that kind of stuff,
How do
right?
you create an organization to manage them?
Okay, the key to creating an organization to manage them is you gotta surround yourself around the right people. You have to find I call it this, okay, and I'll give the credit to Kobe Bryant. Find people that will keep you in your lane. Okay, anything outside that lane, they need to be doing it. Because you know your lane. You know what you're really good at, you know what you're really passionate about. That's what you should be actually doing. Anything that's outside of that lane, you have to realize that you've got to invest in those types of people, because ultimately that's costing you money by you coming out of your lane. Does that make sense? I hope I clarified that. Yes.
Well, and just to add to that, not having a big ego where you have to do everything yourself. Conrad's really good at delegating and admitting, okay, that's not my strong point. I need to bring in someone else to help them get ahead. And so humbling yourself enough to be, knowing that you don't need to be the control freak, the one always in charge, and being able to delegate and lead people to another person. I mean, such as like Robert's here and he's involved in social media. And so it's like Conrad may not have the time to do this particular thing, but Robert's good at that, so I'm gonna direct you over to Robert. So just being able to delegate.
And finding right people for the right.
Yes.
You do. But the number one thing though, thanks honey, the number one thing though is you have to recognize though that you shouldn't be doing some of the things that you're doing because it's actually costing you money. And you're doing things that you're not passionate about. It's like with me, okay, I have a guy on my team named Brian. The guy, I think he's probably watching right now, but you know, Brian is so good at analytics and social media and building high-end apps and websites and all that kind of stuff. Brian is so gifted, and so is his son. I mean, they're code, they know how to code, and they're doing blockchain, and they're just like these, you know what I'm talking about? Like they're like little mini Bill Gates, if you will, in a good way. And I will tell you right now that I don't want to get in Brian's lane. You know, I have my lane. I can figure stuff out, design stuff, you know, fix problems, things like that. But that's Brian's lane. The same thing with Robert in the back. You know, he's a guru in Facebook and Instagram, all that kind of stuff. That I don't want to go in Robert's lane, and Robert doesn't want to go in my lane. And that's what you have to kind of recognize, because here's the problem. What will happen is you'll just plateau in your business. You will never break through in your business if you don't recognize that there are things that you should not be doing anymore. You guys, when we're running commercials for iHeartRadio, we have a team that does. He's very gifted in designing the commercials, putting them together. There's producers involved. There's, you know, I have Paul who works on all the analytical stuff, all the back end stuff, setting up the sales funnel. Like there's teams of people that I don't even want to know what they do. Just do it. Does that make sense? That even when I was managing assets, I actually had a team that they did this and I did that. You know, ultimately my role was just sit in front of clients to figure stuff out. Anything beyond that, I didn't do it. You know why? Because it's not my lane. And that's something that, like I said, if you go back to Kobe Bryant, he'll tell you that, or he said it all the time. I know my lane, everything else, I have coaches that help me with everything. You guys know that Kobe had coaches for everything, his mental coaches, Mark, you have to help me with this stuff, you know, all the different facets of basketball, but he had coaches for everything. You know, it wasn't just him out there just, hey, I'm just gonna be good at this. He had coaches for everything, just to make sure, do it this way, do it that way, run this way, run that way, wear these shoes. I mean, he had people from, you know, Nike and all these other types of companies that say, hey, these shoes aren't working for me, and you design me shoes that are just like this, for the way that I move and so that my ankle, I mean, it was crazy the type of people that you have around you to make
Jordan
you
was one of his biggest mentors.
Yeah, and Jordan was one of his mentors too. Right? You guys all follow what I'm saying? So if you're gonna leave today, it's just to say, the most successful people that I know, they're very good about the people that they put around them. But you also have to invest in that. The biggest challenge, I think, for entrepreneurs sometimes is they don't realize that you have to invest in this stuff. It costs money. It does, it costs money. But what's it costing you by you doing some of the things that you know you shouldn't be doing? Just telling you. Okay, another question?
I I just have a comment.
Yeah.
I have a chance to work with Conrad and your team, and you guys do exactly what you are saying.
Well, I appreciate that.
I really
Mike.
enjoy that.
I appreciate that, Mike. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, because Mike would ask me a question and say, hey, Conrad, what about this with the app? And I say, I don't know. It's okay to say I don't know because it's not what you do. Does it make sense? The worst thing in the world is if you try to wing it, right, Andy? I mean, if somebody's asking you about a specific thing about bond yields or this or that, if it's not your expertise, guess what? You put the person on the phone that can explain bond analysis, bond yields, junk bonds, E-bond, all that kind of, am I right? That's, you have to know when you're good, okay? Thank you, Mike, I appreciate you saying that. Anybody else? Yes, Robert.
Would you
Say the question to, if you can, there.
To the camera?
To Facebook Land.
Okay.
We have a few minutes left.
Sure. Would you apply the same strategies to grow or to scale your business as you were to build an organization that actually works?
Okay, I'm not quite understanding.
Oh, sorry. So, with what you just said about building an organization, are you able to also take those principles and those foundations and apply it to help scale your business as well, or are there any strategies that you can give to help scale?
You know, no, that's a great question. Whatever you're doing in one company, you can take that to the next company. And that's what I have found actually with a lot of these guys like Richard Branson, Tony Robbins, all these guys who actually endorse even the professions that I'm in of direct selling, network marketing. Magic Johnson endorses it. The thing that I will tell you is that once you have those, I call them principles, once you have those principles down, you can take them in any business model. See, when I started my social media company, I told Jill, hey, I'm gonna start a social media company. She did a little bit, but she knows I take those same principles and I put them into the other companies. So whatever it is that you're doing, once you establish the foundation and those principles, you could take that to any company. That's why you can have multiple companies, because you've established principles. If you guys ever want to, I'm gonna give away a couple of books, but there's a book out there by Ray DeLeo. Have anybody heard of him? Who he is? Called Principles. Want to read that book? Guys, I don't know what I'm telling you right now. Okay, you're gonna have to read it a few times. Ray DeLeo actually is Tony Robbins. He manages his assets. He runs the largest hedge fund in the world. Ray DeLeo it's called Principles. He manages Bill Gates' money. He manages. He's like the guy to follow with respect to investing, cryptos. I mean, the guy is just a guru. And I'm gonna tell you right now, the entire book is business principles. If you learn those principles, you can apply that to anything that you do in life. The Principles by Ray DeLeo. You're going to have to read it a few times. It's a big book. Like, it's a commitment. If you're not going to commit to it, don't buy it. I'm telling you, waste your money. But because it's a high level book, but when you get those principles down, I mean, it's going to help you big time in business. But I mean, this is the guy. You know, he runs the biggest hedge fund in the world. So that's what I would suggest for that. And then the other thing I want to do too, who drove in from the furthest place? How many guys drove in from outside Corona? South Corona? So where did you drive? You drove far? Riverside? Okay, so there's a book for you. Okay, how many of you guys have read this book? Rich Dad Poor Dad. Okay, this is the #1 selling financial book of all time. Okay, I'm telling you guys right now, your kids should read this book. I cannot emphasize enough how you should read this book. It is an outstanding book. You know, on Amazon, Walmart, Target, whatever the case may be. Okay, so I'm going to give away this one too. What's that? Yeah. Yeah. We could do business cards.
You can do whatever you want.
Okay, so let's do it this way. You know, Mike, because you gave me such a damn good. I didn't have to pay you or anything.
There you go. Let's give it up for Conrad one more time. Again, you were part of a tremendous experience today. We are back open for business. You're going to hear all about that, whether you attend the beautiful big screen up at Starlight Theater in Dos Lagos on Thursday night, the 24th, or in person at Eagle Glen to hear Jackie Casillas kind of fine-tune things on a business perspective. Maybe go to both of those, but you were at the right place at the right time. You're in the city of Corona, you're working with some great partners. Again, the city of Corona, let's give them a round of applause. They sponsor and also working with us at the Chamber of Commerce. We are here to help you accomplish your goals and your dreams and make sure that we can help your business grow. So with that, on behalf of the Chamber, on behalf of the Board of Directors and the entire membership, thank you all for being here today. Conrad and Jill, thank you guys so much. They're gonna stick around. I know sometimes people don't wanna ask the question in a public forum. They will be glad to talk with you individually, and all you guys have a fabulous day. Thank you.